So Joe Biden, he announced that he's going to maintain the cap on refugees that was put in place by Trump. Okay, let me read you the official statement from the White House. So this was announced on April 16th. Okay, and he says basically that these are the official numbers, right? So they're going to take in 7,000 refugees from Africa, 1,000 from East Asia, and it's basically a total of 15,000, just like under Trump. And that is the lowest number that it's ever been. Okay? And he said that basically this action is justified by grave humanitarian concerns and is otherwise in the national interest. That's it. So he lied, right? He said during the campaign that he would undo this action by Trump because Trump cut the number of refugees that the United States was taking in down to 15,000. And that was a campaign promise from Trump, from Biden, Freudian slip, they're the same, that he would undo it. And all of a sudden, actually, because there was so much outcry from, well, there was a lot of outcry. Here's from AOC. AOC said, "This is completely and utterly unacceptable. Biden promised to welcome immigrants and people voted for him based on that promise. Upholding the xenophobic and racist policies of the Trump administration, including the historically low and plummeted refugee cap, is flat out wrong. Keep your promise." We also had a statement from Pramila Jayapal, who's the chair of the Progressive Caucus in the House. So she said that it's simply unacceptable and unconscionable that the Biden administration is not immediately repealing Donald Trump's harmful, xenophobic, and racist refugee cap that cruelly restricts refugee admissions to a historically low level. After 4 painful years of fighting Trump's all-out draconian assault on immigrants, Biden promised to restore America as a beacon of hope and committed to increasing our refugee resettlement numbers. By failing to sign an emergency presidential determination to lift Trump's historically low refugee cap, Biden has broken his promise to restore our humanity. We cannot turn our back on refugees around the world, including hundreds of refugees who have already been cleared for resettlement, have sold their belongings, and are ready to board flights. So that's the issue also, right? He has the possibility until May 15th to sign an emergency presidential determination. And as Pramila Jayapal points out, there are many people who've already been cleared to come to the United States, who've been approved. They've been vetted, they've been approved. And I read about one woman, she was pregnant, she had her ticket ready, and Trump, again, Freudian slip, Biden did not sign the emergency presidential determination. And then she entered her 3rd trimester, so she can't fly anymore. She lost the money from her ticket, and now she's in limbo, basically. Doesn't know when she's coming. So, I mean, what is that? Like, you want to come here and tell me that this guy's different from Trump? How is he different from Trump? Every single day we're covering one policy after the other where he's just like Trump. And we had a joint letter that was written by Ilhan Omar and a couple of other Democrats. By the way, it's worth pointing out that Ilhan Omar herself came to the United States when she was younger as a refugee from Somalia, right? So this is a joint letter that was written to Biden, and they said, "We are writing to express the urgent need for your administration to immediately sign an emergency presidential determination to formalize the proposed revised fiscal year 2021 refugee admissions goal of 62,500. Okay? Now, where does this number come from, 62,500? Let me show you. So basically, the State Department, they made a proposition, okay? They made a proposal that to respond to all of these unforeseen and urgent situations around the world, a revised target of 62,500 refugees is proposed and is justified by grave humanitarian concerns and is in the national interest, okay? So that's where this figure comes from, all right? So going back to the letter that was written by Ilhan Omar and signed by other Democrats. So as I said here, before, we have all been deeply distressed at the stories of hundreds of refugees who had been cleared for resettlement, having their flights canceled at the last minute. And, she talks about Somalia, Syria, and Yemen. And I want to just show you again something from this assessment from the State Department. Okay. So if you look at Syria, it's designated as a priority source, right? Okay, so here we go. This is the spot I'm looking for. Although they say here, although the United States has resettled over 22,000 Syrian refugees since the conflict began in 2011, lower refugee admissions numbers and nationality restrictions led to a significant drop in the resettlement of Syrian nationals since fiscal year 2016. Increasing the overall refugee admissions number and eliminating nationality restrictions would allow the United States to resettle greater numbers of the nearly 29,000 Syrian refugees currently pending in the U.S. refugee settlement program. So, you know, it's crazy that you have 29,000 Syrians waiting in line, which is more than the total number the United States has taken in to begin with, right? That's incredible. And it's not just Syria, of course, right? Ethiopia, Central African Republic, Venezuela, Somalia. I mean, you look at the assessment from the State Department, and they go through all these various countries and talk about why they're accepting refugees from there. And then basically, because of all this backlash, Biden reversed it. Okay, so there was so much backlash from Democrats in the last 2-3 days. He reversed course. Okay, but by how much, we don't know. We don't know. So here, New York Times reported that after backlash, Biden will increase the limit on refugee admissions. Okay, and basically, there was a statement put out by, again, Jen Psaki, the press secretary, and I'm going to read it to you, okay? So she says here, the president's directive today has been the subject of some confusion. Last week, he sent to Congress his budget for the fiscal year starting in October 2021, which honors his commitment. For the past few weeks, he has been consulting with his advisors to determine what number of refugees could realistically be admitted to the United States between now and October 1st. Given the decimated refugee admissions program we inherited and burdens on the Office of Refugee Resettlement, his initial goal of 62,500 seems unlikely. While finalizing that determination, the president was urged to take immediate action to reverse the Trump policy that banned refugees from many key regions, to enable flights from those regions to begin within days. Today's order did that. With that done, we expect the president to set a final increased refugee cap for the remainder of this fiscal year by May 15th. So, I mean, she's basically just repeating that, you know, he's going to keep his promise with that figure of 62,500 when the new fiscal year starts in October. But we still don't know how many the United States is going to take in from now until October. And he has until May 15th to determine that. Now, from reports I read, he's going to probably do that within the next couple of days. I mean, what I want to say here, man, I think that even if he's taking in 62,500 starting tomorrow morning, yeah, that's a drop in the ocean. That's a drop in the ocean, right? You know, when the war in Iraq started in 2003, as a result of that, 3 million Iraqis went to Syria as refugees. Just to Syria alone, you had 3 million Iraqis. Million. Right now, in Turkey, you have 3 million Syrian refugees in Turkey. So what is 22,000 Syrians? And then an additional 29,000 Syrians. What is that? That's a drop in the ocean. That's a drop in the ocean. That doesn't fix anything. You know, again, let me just show you this trend over here, right? So this is U.S. refugee admissions and refugee resettlement ceilings from the 80s, 1980 until 2020. Okay, you can see when Trump comes in, it drops, right? It was 85,000. He brings it down to around 15,000. And then, you know, Biden's saying he's going to keep it. Now he's saying he's going to reverse that. I mean, how on earth, honestly, does this make up for the millions of people displaced by these wars that the United States has started? It doesn't even begin. It doesn't even begin to account for that. Not even close. Not even close. Here, let me show you this, okay? This is from the UN Refugee Agency, Okay. Inside Syria alone, you have 6.7 million people that have been internally displaced. Inside Syria. Okay. You have 6.6 million Syrian refugees worldwide. Okay. And 5.6 million of them are hosted in countries near Syria. So again, we're talking about Lebanon. I think Lebanon has about 1 million refugees from Syria. Again, Turkey has about 3 million. And, you know, it's just, I find this astounding that these countries like the United Kingdom, like France, you know, the United States, they go and destroy countries. They bomb the infrastructure to rubble. They destroy people's livelihoods. They take away their jobs. They destroy the crops. They steal the oil. They plunder it. They put sanctions and embargoes. They choke the entire country. They turn people into refugees in their own country. They send others into other countries. And then they sit there in their ivory tower and they're like, yeah, you know what? Maybe we'll take like a few thousand. Motherfucker, I swear to God, if you took every single Syrian refugee, that would still not make up for what you did to Syria. And the same thing for Iraq, and the same thing for Libya, and the same thing for Yemen and Afghanistan, and the same thing for all the countries in Central Latin America that the United States destroyed in its coups. It would still not make up for it. How do you bring back the friends, the families that they lost? How do you bring back their homes and their livelihoods? How do you take away that trauma? And even then, they're like, oh no, we'll just take like 20,000. Motherfucker. Motherfucker. You know, it would be better if you took 0 refugees, but you stopped bombing countries and producing refugees. Right? Don't take any refugees, but stop fucking creating them. Your neoliberal policies, your fucking warmongering, your airstrikes, your drone strikes, your regime change is creating refugees. So don't come here now and tell me that you're not even going to take the refugees that you created. And then they have the audacity to call them migrants. What are they migrating from? What are they emigrating from? Why are they leaving their homes and leaving everything they know behind? Why would someone do that? Maybe because you destroyed their economy. Maybe because you plundered their country. You robbed them of any kind of economic security, social stability. These fucking colonizers, they come in and they plunder and they destroy and they occupy. And they sanction and they starve. They impose siege warfare and they bomb you. And then they have the nerve to say, oh no, we're just going to take, a few people this year and, maybe next year a few more. And it's a drop in the ocean, man. It doesn't even begin to suffice. And then when people are crossing the channel, right, they're going from France to the UK. What do the news do? What does the media do? Sky News. They come and film them like they're animals, watching them drown in a dinghy. Like they're animals, they dehumanize them. You got people going all the way from sub-Saharan Africa to Libya and risking their lives crossing the Mediterranean. Dozens that are drowning. What do you think drives people to do that, to risk their lives like that? It's your policies that did that. That's colonialism. That's Western imperialism. Hundreds of years of slavery, of stealing, of oppression. And they keep doing it now, but rebranded, right? Now we're not colonizing you. No. We're liberating you. We're giving you democracy. We care so much about you. Here, let's take away your food. So, honestly, I'm not impressed, right? I'm not impressed. These people have done so much damage that this, what is that even? What is that? They add insult to injury. That's what they're doing. They add insult to injury. Do you know how many years it's going to take to rebuild Libya? Do you know how much money that's going to take? Do you know how much time that's going to take? Why do you think people are going to your country? Why do you think they're going to the UK? Why do you think they go to Germany? Why do you think they're going to the United States? What do these countries have that we don't? They have wealth. And where did they get that wealth? It fell out of the sky. They fucking stole it. They spent centuries fucking stealing it. They're still stealing it right now. They're starting wars over resources to steal more, to steal Venezuela's oil, to steal Bolivia's lithium, Afghanistan's lithium and gold and precious stones, to steal Iran's oil, Iraq's oil. They're still doing it. That's why they're developed. That's why people go there, because you took their fucking wealth. And then you have the goddamn stones to build a wall. Both Trump and Biden building a wall and then peering down and deciding, you know, how many refugees that they created they might maybe allow in. What scum, honestly? What scum? And you know what the kicker is? Biden himself, just 2 weeks ago, he said, "Oh, my grandfather came in on an iron coffin ship from Ireland," and then Blinken, during his confirmation hearing, talks about how, you know, his stepfather also came after surviving the Holocaust. You know, all these people, Kamala Harris, right? Also, her parents came to the United States. All these people emigrated to the United States. Many of them were persecuted, right? They came to the United States because they were persecuted, because they wanted shelter, because they sought refuge, and now they turn around, right? Their children turn around and refuse to afford others that same comfort and that same refuge. How despicable. You know how many refugees Syria has taken in? Syria took in millions of Palestinians. Syria took in millions of Armenians after the genocide by the Ottomans. Syria took in millions of Iraqis after the American invasion, the UK invasion. Syria has nowhere near the same amount of resources or wealth or infrastructure or capacity to deal with it like the United Kingdom, like the United States. And Syria still does it because Syria has fucking humanity. And other countries, the same thing. They take in millions more, even more than they can handle, because they have humanity. These people, the West, is not humane. They are inhumane. They're colonizers, they're plunderers, they are merchants of death and destruction, and then they have the fucking stones to turn away the people that they displaced, whose suffering they caused and engineered. This is devilish, this is despicable, this is evil. So you want to come here and talk about a difference of a few thousand? No, you've displaced millions. Millions of Afghanis have been displaced. Millions of Afghans have been displaced because of your invasion, right? Millions have been displaced from Iraq, millions from Syria, from Libya, from Central and Latin America. You created that, you engineered that, you participated in that. How fucking dare you? This makes me so angry, this injustice. And again, it's not just war, right? You might be thinking, oh, it's just because of war. What about the global South in general? Why is the global South not at the same developed level as the West? Why? Once again, they took all that wealth. They oppressed these people. The British colonized India for centuries, right? They colonized Africa. The French as well. They made sure that you can't develop. How are you going to develop when you're enslaved? How can you develop when you're under occupation? And on top of that, they take the wealth, right? They took all that wealth, the spices, the oil, the rubber. They profited off of that. And then, and then they call people who are living in economic misery and instability migrants, not refugees. Oh no, they're migrants. Like as if they're just casually moving from one place to another because they have nothing better to do. This is how they whitewash their colonial behavior. This is how they whitewash the occupation that they impose on others.